And now, attention! The Ukrainian armed forces' retaliation for the hellish shelling of Ukraine and Kyiv in particular, military facilities in Belgorod and the surrounding region came under rocket attack. According to the regional operations headquarters, damage was inflicted on energy infrastructure facilities. In addition, on the night of May 25th, Ukrainian defense forces struck the Belgorod oil depot in Russia's Bryansk region. According to the General Staff, this facility is used to supply the occupying army. Here are the details.
Revenge for Kyiv. Russia, get ready. It's an explosive morning in the swamps.
That's where the launch came from. That's where everything is flying to.
Energy infrastructure and the railway are under fire. Even the concentration of a large number of air defense systems can't save Russia's strategic facilities. Ukrainian long-range strikes have become more destructive and frequent.
If we talk about our enemy, they are systematically working to terrorize Ukraine and commit genocide against Ukrainians. If we talk about the work of Ukraine's defense forces, it is a systematic effort to destroy the enemy's military, industrial, manufacturing, and industrial potential, as well as their logistics, command staff, personnel, and so on. That is the potential to continue the war against Ukraine.
Ukrainian drone attacks have paralyzed or significantly restricted the operations of a large number of major oil refineries in the central and southern parts of Russia. Since the beginning of May 2026 alone, about 11 oil refineries have been hit. Some attacks in May reached record distances of more than 1,500 kilometers from the front line, where several Russian aircraft were destroyed or damaged.
Ukraine, in turn, has achieved significant results by undermining the oil refining sector as never before. Over the entire period of strikes on Russian oil refineries, we can say that approximately 50% of the oil refining industry in the European part of the Russian Federation has lost its capacity. In addition, Ukraine is striking the mid to deep rear zone of the Russian Federation, targeting defense industry enterprises, airfields, military facilities, and other enterprises. Again, there's the Kremlin plant, the Elvodkinsky plant. Precision strikes at the middle strike level are being carried out against locations of Russian officer personnel, specifically certain elite units.
Additionally, Ukraine's drone forces have begun to systematically take out air defense systems. This creates air corridors for long-range drones to break through into the central regions of Russia.
The Russian Federation is focused exclusively on killing and destroying the civilian sector of our country, that is, on the genocide of the civilian population. This concerns the energy infrastructure as well as civilian logistics hubs, and also simply the terrorizing of the civilian population, the killing of ordinary Ukrainians deep in the rear through shelling and strikes on residential complexes and buildings. That is the difference. We are doing everything for the sake of victory and accordingly undermining the potential of the Russian occupation forces.
Thanks to the rapid development of Ukrainian technologies and the expansion of the geography of attacks, the entire European part of the Russian Federation has come under constant threat of fire.
In 2022, we started with the ability to strike deep into the territory of the Russian Federation or temporarily occupied territories at distances of up to 50 kilometers, specifically at such ranges. Today, our drones can fly more than 2,000 kilometers and our missiles can reach up to 3,000 kilometers deep into the territory of the Russian Federation. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of 2026 we see yet another record for flight range and strikes, and in 2027, once again, it will be more than 3,000 kilometers, this time achieved solely by strike drones.
In 4 years, Kyiv has increased weapons production 35-fold, switching to high-tech models. Some of the key developments include the Flamingo cruise missiles, the Hrom-2 system, the Neptune anti-ship missiles, and drones.
We managed to implement a whole series of projects quite quickly and in extremely tight timeframes, not only related to the further modernization of existing missile types and missile armaments, for example, the R-360 Neptune missiles, which have been upgraded over all these years. And today we have the Neptune D, a missile with an increased range of up to 1,000 kilometers. But new models were also created, among which the most well-known is, of course, Firepoint 5, that's Flamingo.
The Ukrainian defense industrial complex has made a real technological leap, transforming from an outdated Soviet base into one of the most innovative defense industries in the world. While the Kremlin is forced to beg for shells from North Korea and drones from Iran, Ukraine is scaling up its missile retaliation program.
in Ukraine, projects related to missile weaponry are developing quite rapidly. First of all, it should be noted that in any other country, missile armament and in general, the classic process of creating missile weaponry are rather long-term projects. They are protracted undertakings. They are not completed in a matter of months or even in just a few years. That's why in Ukraine, the development of both air-launched cruise missiles and the approach to stable domestic production is progressing at an extremely accelerated, I would even say forced pace.
The war has become a powerful catalyst for the development of Ukraine's defense industrial complex. Thanks to private companies, Ukraine will be able to create innovations in the defense industry and effectively implement them on the battlefield.
Last night, there were explosions and fires in several regions of Russia, as well as in temporarily occupied Crimea. For the fifth time this spring, the city of Tuapse in Krasnodar Krai was among those attacked. Locals are posting videos of explosions and smoke over the city in Telegram channels. At least one strike occurred in the area of the oil refinery, according to Russian social media channels, but it is unknown whether the facility itself was damaged. Meanwhile, reports of a missile attack are coming from Taganrog. This is also confirmed by the local mayor. The Russian Telegram channel Astra claims that the target was an aircraft repair plant. A fire broke out on its premises. It just shook everything. Where did that go? It crashed into the entire family house. Unbelievable, a missile just hit. 2 missiles, actually. Oh my God. Well, the siren didn't even go off. A black column of smoke also rose over Voronezh. According to OSINT analysis by Astra, the fire is in the area of the Baltimore military airfield. Russia regularly uses it to launch strikes against Ukraine. The local governor stated that air defense destroyed 2 high-speed targets. Crimea, which is temporarily occupied, was also under attack. This was confirmed by the Gauleiter Razvozhayev. The Telegram channel Crimean Wind reports that the headquarters of the Russian Black Sea Fleet's Air Force in Sevastopol was targeted. Ukraine has not yet confirmed any of the attacks. An International Monetary Fund mission has arrived in Kyiv. They are to assess the progress of reforms under the extended financing program for Ukraine, which amounts to over $8 billion over 4 years. The mission members met with government officials and politicians, discussing the necessary steps to accelerate the approval of reforms, including the possible introduction of VAT on inexpensive parcels from abroad and a tax for sole proprietors. The taxation of parcels was part of the so-called large tax package, which is one of Ukraine's commitments to the IMF. However, the Verkhovna Rada failed to pass the bill yesterday. They were supposed to introduce value-added tax on parcels from abroad worth up to 150 euros. This is one of the IMF's requirements for Ukraine to continue receiving international aid. Today, a meeting of the European Union's foreign ministers will take place in Cyprus. The head of Ukraine's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Andriy Sybiha, will also join. The meeting is informal. One of the key topics is the situation following the massive Russian strikes on Kyiv and the Kremlin's threats of new attacks. European diplomats will discuss strengthening sanctions pressure on Russia, defense assistance to Ukraine, and Europe's role in the peace process. They will also agree on further steps for Kyiv towards EU membership and the opening of new negotiation clusters. On the sidelines of the summit, the head of Ukraine's Ministry of Foreign Affairs will hold a series of bilateral meetings with European colleagues.